Is it okay if we do it in English for everyone? Sure? Yeah? Okay, great. So, emo eating. Let me get I purposely didn't make slides because my internet in this room has been really crappy. And I'm afraid that halfway it would fall off. So I'm just going to do the presentation. I can leave the notes afterwards if you want, but this recording will also be saved. And then you can look at it again if you want to. I prefer to do the whole thing at once. Afterwards, ask questions if you want, but it's probably better we do the whole. It's not going to be super long, right? Like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And then you ask your questions if you want to. And then we can do the rest of the normal call as well, like where we ask how everyone doing and how things are going. And then we can see. So, sorry, someone saying?
Quickly tell you something. It's not the room. It's the Eefestraat and the Tiensestraat. That's the internet problem. It's everywhere.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was in the group meeting for our street. Apparently, we are too far away from a post thingy.
Oh, are they going to change that?
No.
Oh, no.
Sorry, just to give you the heads up. It's not you, it's them.
It's because Astrid and I live like 200 meters apart. This is why she...
So that's why I just wanted to tell you. But please, go ahead.
But it's okay now. In the beginning, it was a little bit... Yeah,
I changed the mobile data now, so
okay.
It should be fine now. Yeah. Anyway, so emotional eating. So first off, what is emotional eating, right? When we think of emotional eating, we think of the person sitting on the couch eating potato chips as their life depends on it, right? That's what we think. But it's not just that. Emotional eating can also be things like, hey, I'm having a birthday and I'm really happy and I'm going to eat cake. It could also be congratulations on buying a house. Let's have some champagne. That's emotional drinking. But all these things count as emotional eating. Emotional eating and drinking is celebrating or handling emotions with food, right? So like I say, positive and negative. But the thing we usually think about is the negative, and it's usually related to loneliness. Now, why is it so often a problem? Is because it's used as a coping mechanism. While it can cope something in the short term, of course, but it doesn't solve anything, right? And then we have the typical example of the person who sits in the couch, eats potato chips because they feel bad. What happens after is that they feel bad as well after eating so many chips. They gain weight often because it's not just a one-time thing. Usually, it's often. Gaining weight makes them feel bad in their own skin, which makes them feel emotional again, which you can guess they're going to eat again because they feel bad. So it's a cycle of feeling bad and then eating and feeling bad, and then repeatedly doing that same thing over and over again. How we attempt to handle that very often is by going super strict, right? Like I overate, I'm going to go super hard now. I'm going to eat only vegetables and chicken, right? Problem with that is that you're starving yourself again. And as soon as you go slightly outside of that perfect series, you go back to the overeating because it's heavily linked with perfectionism, and everything that doesn't fit in there is bad. And then once you've gone bad, you've gone off rail. Well, it's all bad now anyway, so it doesn't matter if I eat half a bag of chips or 2 bags of chips or 5 bags of chips. It's bad anyway, so it's good, bad, and that's a cycle that's really hard to break. Another thing that's very common with the emotional eating is that it's linked, like I said before, with shame and a feeling of failure. But these only strengthen the cycle, right? And this is also the reason why pretty much everyone does this. Actually, all of them do it alone. You don't want to show other people that you're emotionally eating. You want it to hide. You hide it. You're lonely and you hide this. You don't want other people to know it. And that's exactly what shame is, right? You don't want to show that you're vulnerable. However, when you're dealing with an emotion of shame and of loneliness especially, it's important that it is shared, and it's important that it is something that is solved, because the food is not going to solve it for you. And dieting, restriction, is only encouraging this cycle, of course, because you're restricting and then you break and then you don't feel perfect anymore, because I failed the diets, right? And you overeat, you fail, you feel bad. Yeah. So, oh, someone just entered the room. So, so what do you do then, right? Because I've just explained the whole thing. It probably sounds recognizable, at least if you haven't had it yourself, you've heard it or seen it. So what do you do? A really important thing is that you try to look for the root of the problem. So if emotional eating is a way of coping with emotions, then the problem is not the emotional eating. The problem is some kind of an emotion. It could be the loneliness, like I said. It could be your shame, anything. But it's really important to look into that and to try and find patterns. Someone else joining. Can I find some kind of a pattern? Is this always happening? For example, when it's Sunday night and I don't know, I don't see my partner for the whole week, and that's when I do it. Is it something I always do after my boss has a tantrum at work, right? Is it something, is there some kind of a link? And then second, is there a way I can cope with this problem that is not food? Because again, the food, it will give you that short-term hug. It will give you that short-term release of the problem or of the pain, but it doesn't solve anything in the long run. You keep putting oil to the fire, and you kind of you don't solve anything. So patterns is really important. A deep analysis for yourself. Potentially, if it's something that you really suffer from with a trained professional, a psychologist, then not a dietitian can help, but a psychologist is probably a better person here, because you're dealing with the emotion, not with the foods, right? It's the emotion. So then what do you really do, and what do you do not do? What I highly recommend is that you make some kind of an action plan if you are dealing with these emotional eating. That could be filling out a form for yourself. I have sent a lot of forms to a lot of people, which really goes over like, what happened before? How did I feel at that moment? How did I feel right after? What triggered this? Like all these things that you really self-analyze, you try to find a pattern, and you look into how can I really pinpoint the cause of that problem. That's a really important one. An eating journal is the most common one. A second thing you can definitely do is you focus on yourself and on your identity as a person, what you want to become, not on where you're lacking, but what you want to become as a person. I want to be someone who is healthy, right? Then obviously I will make choices that feed my body. It can never be okay, I should totally stop eating chips from now on, because you're just going to starve yourself. It should be I'm going to add this and this and this and this, healthy things preferably. I'm talking fruits, veggies, lean meats, nuts, seeds, all these kind of things. And in that way, you're filling a void. You're feeding yourself, and not just from a physical point of view, but also from an emotional point of view, because emotional eating is often coupled as well to a feeling of not being worthy, of being ashamed, right? We go into that cycle again. While if you treat your body as a temple, like they say, you're less likely to do it, because you identify yourself as, I am worthy, I need the best of the best, right? And then you don't put these things in your body because you don't feel like it suits your lifestyle and it suits your identity as a person and who you want to become. So that's another one. Of course, finding an emotional way out, right? I had someone in the program who often ate because she was angry. She got very angry with the situation. Like she didn't smash windows or anything, right? But she got angry because of COVID. she couldn't accept the situation. She had a really hard time with it, and then she would tend to overeat. Now, what we did with her is I asked her to make a list of things that could help her blow off steam. Calling a friend was a good one for her. Putting one song on and dancing really hard to that song really helped for her as well. And then going for power walks. Those were her three. Oftentimes, these things helped. They helped solve and deal with the emotion in a way that food also did, but obviously food had the negative side effects. So that really helped for her. But these are very highly specific. Again, that goes back to making an action point for yourself. Check what things would really work for you. And then, last one, look for help and make it something you can talk about, right? If you find an ally in this, and that could be me as a coach, but also I suggest you look for other people as well, because I'm not physically there with you. You are way, way, way less likely to overeat when you're with someone, emotionally overeat when you're with someone, because of that shame again, because of that feeling of loneliness. So that's a really important one to talk about it. Admit to yourself that you sometimes have this problem, but that you don't identify with it. You are a person also who, and that's my next point, you are not a person who is an emotional eater. You are a person who sometimes has issues with emotional eating. If you identify as an emotional eater, then of course you're going to be emotionally eating, right? It's who you are. It doesn't, like if you're a smoker, you're going to smoke. If you're someone who is trying to quit smoking, then you're going to try to quit smoking. Doesn't mean you'll succeed, but at least it's a different way of looking at it. So that's really important for me as well. So then another few things that you definitely should not do, put foods on the forbidden list. If you put something on the forbidden list, it becomes 10 times as, how do you say it? Delicious, like something you really tempting, exactly, yeah. It becomes so much more tempting because it's forbidden, right? And we're just programmed to go for it. So if you do that, yeah, that's a problem. Another thing is that it forces you to think black and white again, and then we go back to that perfectionism we talked about in the beginning. It makes you think of failing or not failing, right? You're doing perfect or you're doing not perfect at all and you totally failed. That then again sets up the cycle of, I failed, so everything's bad. So if it's black already, I might just go for pitch black, and it doesn't matter if I eat half a bag of chips or 5, because I failed. And failing has no grades. It's failing or not failing. So that's an issue. So your bad days become a lot worse. This also encourages brainless eating, like just continuing without you even thinking about it. Trying to hide is another thing I would definitely not try. Trying to cut cold turkey is another one you shouldn't try. It's a better idea to try to still get some kind of a food in there, here and there, that you like and that you can look forward to, but in a controlled way. Because if you totally cut it and you can never have this food again, it just doesn't work. And then I had one more. Oh yes, another thing, and that's the thing a lot of people try to do. You should not try and compensate your eating with exercise. Exercise is really good. Exercise is healthy. But over-exercising and doing 5 more workouts a week to compensate your 5 bags of chips is not a healthy lifestyle. It's fueling your body with the right things and then trying to compensate just on weight. It doesn't help you fuel your body. It doesn't help you feed your body. It doesn't necessarily even correlate with health. Health is more than just being physically fit and active. It's feeding your body with the right things, having good, obviously physical, but also mental state of mind, and exercising because you want to compensate what you did wrong. And what it literally says is it's exercising as a punishment, right? Because I ate bad, so I have to punish myself by going through this workout. And then again, you're in that feeling of shame. And then that shame again becomes a trigger to emotionally eat. So you see how this cycle keeps going and going and going and going if you let it be. So if you had a period where you, like an evening or something where you overate, accept it. No, take note of what you did. Take note of the triggers. Look into how can I compensate for those triggers? How can I solve these? And you can't solve all of them, right? If someone in your family dies, yeah, I'm really sorry for you. It's really bad. And in those moments, it's totally okay. You're never. It's not like we're never gonna emotionally eat, right? Everyone has it to a certain degree. It's just you shouldn't be ashamed of it, and you shouldn't let it become a cycle, and that's really, really important. And I think that is pretty much all I had to say about emotional eating for now. Yeah. Do you guys have any questions on this? Thank you.
Congratulations.
Questions or remarks or?
Thank you for this. It was an eye-opener. Yeah. You really hit it exactly where it needed to be hit.
I'm looking at a lot of blogs and podcasts in the last few weeks on it, and I feel like because it's a thing where a lot of people struggle with, and
Yeah.
I COVID, and not just in this program, right? Other clients I work with as well, or even friends who don't do any sports or program that I know, it's a common thing. It needs to be talked about more and handled in an appropriate way instead of just shame. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of shame about it. I also don't admit it. If I've eaten a bag of crisps, or like my guilty pleasure is the Kinder chocolates.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I start eating them and then I get going, and then I'm like, why have I done that?
There is nothing wrong with occasionally eating these things. It becomes a problem when it's something you do and you hide it and you don't admit it to yourself, and you feel ashamed when you did it as well. That's when it becomes an issue, because then it's that feeling of it becomes bad mentally as well, and then it's something. Yeah, it gets into that cycle of shame and overeating and then compensating and then.
And I think this is what really hit me when you were talking about it's very black or white. It's either like it's going perfectly or it's going very poorly, so it doesn't matter anymore. I recognize that a lot.
Yep.
And I think that's dangerous.
It's the mindset, and I think for a lot of people in the long run it's better to plan something here and there, nothing too crazy, but to plan something here and where you can go slightly off rail. Off rail again, that's a bad term. I say it sometimes, right? But something that is, it's not a vegetable or a fruit or chicken, right? Like having a bar of chocolate, something like that, which is not directly helping you to your goal, and that's higher calorie and those kind of things. But that can help you keep a sane mind, and in that way make more progress in the long run. But enjoying it as well, not feeling ashamed about it is so, so, so important, because if you do, it sets up the cycle.
Yeah. Completely right. Thank you.
Does anyone else?
Yeah, well, an eye-opener for me was when Fanjo said he didn't stay the night. I was like, yes, so I can eat a bag of chips. And I was like, oh, that's wrong. Yeah.
With the emotions again, right? Of him leaving and then.
Yeah. But then being happy he's going to leave, because then I can eat a bag of chips without anybody saying something.
Exactly. The doing it alone. No one, or rarely anyone, overeats. Emo eats alone. It's very, very rare. And the only times it happens is when something like you have a breakup and there's a friend sitting next to you and you're eating a bucket of ice cream. So but that's totally fine. That's one of those over the top situations, like the family member dying, right? You're not gonna break up with your boy or girlfriend every single week, right? It's fine. It happens. It's overkill. It's okay. But yeah.
It's an eye opener. Yeah. Wow.
For me, it was probably the beginning when you said like the celebrations. I like to celebrate basically everything. So for me, that's probably a habit as well. Or yeah, it's connected to the emotion as well, that when something happens nice, I tend to like enjoy my life and celebrate, but not alone. I do it with my husband or with my friends or so. But the problem is that if you open or if you have a glass of wine, I think it's fine if you don't drink every day or so. But the problem is that, again, it opens the door to chips, and the more alcohol you drink, the more like fat you crave, and then everybody is eating it, and then it just becomes after some time kind of like yeah, you connect it with the emotion. Something, you celebrate something, and then you just expect that there will be glass of wine or 2 glasses of wine, and then chips.
And one of the podcasts I listened to, it was something about we even get like this is deeply triggered in our system. What if you're a kid and you get a and Steffi, you should know this, you're a doctor. you know what I mean. A spuitje, right?
Yeah, but I don't give lollipops.
An injection?
Yeah.
If you get that as a kid, what do you get afterwards? Like a lollipop or something. If you fall down, like your grandma will give you a candy, something like that. We're deeply triggered to like have food as that comfort thing. Obviously,
I even got a candy bar, like a lollipop, after I went to the dentist, which I thought, in hindsight, is a bit weird.
It's insane, right? Yeah, it's just so, but it's triggered in our culture that food is a reward, and it's not the worst, right? It's important to keep it in check and not let everything be a celebration, or not use it as our only coping mechanism. If it becomes our only coping mechanism, then it's very dangerous.
Yeah, but it's like if you're happy and you celebrate something, here, a pie. And if you're sad, here, eat something. It's like...
Exactly, yeah. And yeah, the more emotional you are, the harder it gets, of course, right? And that's not a long-term solution that's going to help us, especially if you're watching your health, right? It's not the healthiest way to do it, and it doesn't solve any issues if there's something there that you want to deal with emotionally. So that's why it's called emotional eating, of course, too. There are better ways to deal with it in the long term, and that could be self-reflection. That could be setting up an action plan for yourself, finding ways to better deal with it. But yeah. Mm-hmm. So, you have any questions or remarks on this one?
I might have a question on the happy things. What would you do instead? Because like it's my birthday this Saturday. I know I'm going to eat a lot because it's my birthday, so I'm allowed.
That's totally. I would say is that watch what you qualify as a happy moment, right? Your birthday, that's once a year, that's fine. And then there's someone else whose birthday, that's also fine. All these things are fine. Christmas, all fine. But like maybe if you find this is happening too often, try to make a list of what qualifies for you as a happy moment. It's Saturday, that happens twice every week. That's not a reason to celebrate, right? It's just a day. It's fine to occasionally eat something there, totally okay, but don't celebrate everything. That's
all right.
And if you do, like maybe damage it doesn't have to be like you don't have to go 5-course meal because it's Friday, right? No, it can be something less than that, like having a nice extra dessert or something like that, or
cake.
Doesn't have to be, but your birthday, that's a different. I would qualify that as a grade 1 celebration moments.
Okay.
No, totally. Okay.
And
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yes, I'm sorry.
No, go.
Yeah, I find it difficult when, well, I love my job, but my job is like hard every day. So every day I come home and I say, but I get, celebration is the wrong word. I need a reward because I worked hard. But then every day a reward is not very good. But
Yeah, that's another one of the celebration. Like if it's every day, then it's not really something to celebrate, probably. Then having something that you enjoy is different than feeling like it's a necessary celebration of the day, I think. If it's part of your routine and you enjoy it, it's okay. But then it needs to be balanced, of course, with other.
Doesn't it real little bit depends on like what do you eat for the celebration? Because for example, if the whole day you eat like, let's say healthy, right? Like nothing bad, and then you come home and you say like, okay, I want to reward myself, and then you eat like, I don't know, piece of chocolate. It's also not bad. I think that the problem is when you eat the whole bar of chocolate.
Yeah.
Because I think that for me, it can also help to kind of reward myself, but in moderation. Meaning like if I have a very shitty day and piece of chocolate can make me happy, then why not? If I know that I didn't really overeat through the whole day or I didn't eat anything bad, and for me, it can be just kind of like, yeah, I can release a little bit. I can say to myself also like, okay, I worked hard and I ate well, but I think that the problem is once it turns into like eating the whole table of chocolate. And I think that for some people, it's just better to then don't touch the chocolate because you know it can end up bad. But for some people, if they can control it, then it might be like mentally also good. But you need to find the balance, of course, I guess.
Yeah.
I think also back to the point I made earlier on respecting yourself and respecting your body. Like, you know that the small piece of chocolate is fine, but if you want to live a healthier life and you respect your body and you want to give yourself the best, then you know this should be enough.
Yeah.
And you eat the whole thing every single night. And I'm talking about a whole tablet, right? Like, or a whole bag of chips or something like that. Then you probably are not respecting yourself enough as a person, and your body definitely not. And that is something that you should then look into. So in itself, it's a matter of respect as well, and that should lead to moderation as well. Yeah, and also depending on your goals, of course, right? If you feel happy in your body, and you're okay with having that chocolate piece, and there's no problem at all, then it's not even really emotionally eating because you're fine, right? You're happy any way you are. And if you're not objectively with a BMI of 35 or something, then I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But it becomes an issue when there's too many emotions involved and you feel like you're spiraling out of control.
Mm. No.
Yeah.
I tend to go it by, like, I like crisps really, really, really a lot. But I like the salty flavors at night, like sugary in the morning and salty at night. And now I try to eat pistachio nuts, or that's salted, because then I feel like I'm eating crisp because it's salted, but it's nuts, so it's not that bad. It's fatty, but it's healthy fat.
But at least you're feeding your body, right? You know, okay, It's still calories, but you're feeding your body healthy things, and that is a sign of respect for yourself, instead of the empty calorie chips or chocolate or those kind of things. So that is definitely, I would call that a big step forward.
And portion control, pouring out a bit in a cup and not taking the bag into the couch.
Yeah. Putting the bag next to you in the couch is a recipe for disaster. You just know it's gonna.
No.
And it gets probably even worse when you're a perfectionist, because then you want to perfectly eat the whole thing, right? I have it too, right? If I put something next to me on the couch, it's game over.
Yeah. I remember really, but that's years ago, but in a really, really bad period, I ate like the family pack of Maltesers, like not the small ones, but like the family pack. I ate it all in one afternoon. And then I was thinking like, my teeth hurt like hell. And yeah. So I'm going to do that again. So, yeah.
Yeah, these are things that happen sometimes. Yeah. By the way, just to prove again, that nobody's immune to emotional eating. Right after I had the photo shoot, after I did my project, guess what? I had a real big binge meal, right? To celebrate that and to overeat because you feel like you've been deprived. It's normal. It's okay.
To bake the Malteser pie? No?
We didn't make that. We did have regular pie that my dad made. Yeah. It was a good one, but it's fine as long as you keep it under control, and it's not your go-to way of dealing with emotions.
Yeah, but I can relate to Joey from Friends when he's like really overfilled with turkey from Thanksgiving, and then he says, "Cut me a little slice of pie," and then a real slice, and then I'm like that too, like. Even though I'm not hungry, I'm like, a real slice is like this. And
But then why is that for you? That has to be the size, do you know? Is that something
I deserve it? Yeah. My stomach hurts, huh? I still want a big piece.
And then it comes, I think, again to the matter of the respect for the body and the deserving thing. That's something, maybe to really look into for yourself with that file again, or write it down for yourself. And it's not an easy. I talked a lot about it, but I can't exactly pinpoint for everyone where the problem is and what you should do. That's the issue, right? It's not an easy, but this is where it comes from, and this is how you should try to break the cycle. It really is a cycle, and it's high.
This is something I do as well, but for me it's not so much, I think, emotional eating, but more like food. I call it food FOMO, fear of missing out on food. It's right there in front of me, and I want it here and now. It's not like the concept of, but you can have another piece tomorrow or whatever. It's like it doesn't click with me. With my mind, I can understand the concept, but emotionally, I'm like, no, here and now, this is where it needs to happen. I want a piece of everything, and if it's good, I might even have a second piece of it as well. And then it goes, especially at parties, it goes completely out of the window.
I think I can relate. For me, it was really difficult when I moved to Belgium and I started to work in the office, and suddenly everybody was baking stuff and bringing food. And I had that feeling like, oh, I didn't have this pie yet, I should taste it. Or, oh, I didn't have this, I should taste it. And now it's really, I am at the point that I really look at the food and I'm like, wow, this is something new, but come on, it has to be the same like the 100 pies I already ate in Belgium. But it really took me some time to realize that I am actually not missing much by that actually all the pies I tasted so far are pretty similar. Some are not even good for me. Don't judge me. But it took really long time for me, and I struggled with it when I moved here, and it's really hard. But
guys gave Christina and Christian, fear of missing out is an emotion, right? And it's a totally different one, but it's an emotion, and it triggers that eating, although it's not right. And then maybe that is also something to look into. Do you have this often, the fear of missing out? Is this an issue in other ways as well? It doesn't have to be, right? Everybody has it in some kind of some form or shape or degree. Emotions are normal, right? If you wouldn't have them, you would have a problem. It's just when it starts ruling your life and making your life unhealthy that it's something. look into.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to also add to what Steffi said, actually, with the size of pie. What I also notice is that it comes from family, and that's something what you, PJ, said as well. Like maybe even when you were a kid, you got a lollipop after dentist visit or whatever. Well, when I was a kid, when we had a celebration, we could drink cola. We could not drink cola normally, but when there was a celebration, we could drink cola. And that's such a stupid habit my mom had because, of course, when I left the house, I just drank cola very often because I didn't have it enough. I didn't have it free when I was a kid. And the portion control, that's the same. Like my grandma, oh, you're too skinny, you have to take more, and this is not the proper size of pie. Why would you take so little? And those are, I think, kind of habits or maybe also emotions which you, yeah, kind of relate your childhood to it. And like a proper size of cake, I don't know what is proper size of cake. Is it this or that? But somebody taught you that it's a big piece, right? And I feel like it starts really from when you are a little kid, and it's very hard to fight it.
Yeah, once it's in the system and once it becomes your normal, it's hard to get that out. That's 100% true. Yeah. So I should start screening kids now for the program in 10 years or something.
Maybe the parents, not the kids.
Parents have a big role in with their kids, yeah. And like just feeding them healthy things is also not a good idea, by the way, because then it's again forbidden foods, right? So yeah, for eating disorders, it's not easy. It's not easy.
Yeah,
that did work for. Sorry, Samar.
I do think like there's perhaps two sides to the same coin there, because I noticed it a lot, especially with a lot of people who have not been restricted and who are allowed to or able to drink Coca-Cola or fruit juice or whatever all day, every day, that they don't like water anymore, and that's something they gravitate to on a daily basis. They were not restricted, but it's become, this is their normal, which will kind of adds on to the problem of how many calories they take in on a daily basis.
If it became too normal though, I wouldn't qualify it as emotional personally.
Because it's a habit. They formed a habit there. You know, like Christina said, like this is what's a size of an appropriate size for a piece of pie. You know, you've been taught like it's this big or whatever, and not a tiny piece. But this has become a habit. Like this is how much you need to take.
Anyone else have any things to add on emotional eating or question? No? Yeah, Astrid?
I have a question. You said you listened to a lot of podcasts to prepare for this. I'm actually still looking for a few more podcasts to add to my list. Do you have any recommendations?
I will send them to you. I'll post them in the group.
Thank you.
I'll be able to do that. That's probably going to be easiest for everyone. If it's okay for everyone, I'll also post this replay in the group. So then people who couldn't make it or who could only make part of it can still watch it if they want. And then I'll add the links to that. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thanks for the info, PJ. I thought it was really good. I think the key thing here is really the digging deeper aspect of it all. I think most people realize, I mean, for me, it was an eye opener as well. That like the thing you opened with, where you say like, you know, parties or kind of is also a form of emotional eating. But yeah, those things are or should be rare occasions. I think it's the other ones that are a bigger problem, or when the rare occasion starts to become a habit, like, you know, after a Christmas period, or like now Easter with all the chocolate. If you keep buying chocolate and eating it, you know, for Easter it's fine, but if you make a habit out of it, it's not fine anymore. But I think the key problem is digging deeper and finding the underlying emotions and finding a different way, either tackling the problem there or finding a different, more productive way of coping with it. I think that's the hard part of the issue, really.
100%. Sounds easy, but it's definitely not. Well, you do it, but it's pretty hard. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Well, thanks a lot.
Yeah, sure. No problem.